When office buildings emptied out during the pandemic, it was easy to believe New York's commercial real estate market would never return to its former glory. But new data shows that office buildings in the Big Apple heading towards a remarkable recovery. New data from the real estate technology platform VTS found demand for office space in the city rose by almost 40% last year. That puts demand at 75% of pre-pandemic levels here in the city. Meanwhile, demand for office space nationwide only at 55% of pre-pandemic levels. Joining us now to discuss this rebound is Pierre Debbas. He is the managing partner at the real estate law firm Rocco Vertuccio right here in the city. Great to have you with us this morning. So let's take a closer look at the forces, the factors at play here. I understand at least one of them is easing fears of a recession. That has sort of changed this whole idea about commercial real estate in the city.
Yeah, Rocco, thanks for having me this morning. The recession is playing two parts in this whole return to the office commercial real estate topic. On one hand, the fear of a recession is getting the workforce to come to the office more frequently, mainly for preserving job security. But then on the flip side, should the economy not have the soft landing that we're anticipating this year and the commercial real estate market suffering more economically, that's going to have a ripple effect on banks, predominantly regional banks. And last year, we saw three of the largest bank collapses in U.S. history. And right now, regional banks have a large portfolio of local commercial real estate assets, mainly, office buildings or smaller multifamily buildings. And should we start seeing uptick in defaults in that, it could have a huge ripple impact effect on the economy and our banking industry.
Those who are returning back to the office, are they returning because they're being forced to, or they want to?
It's a great question because the larger companies are forcing people to come back to the office. There's a great saying, golden handcuffs, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, those companies can do that, right? They have the ability to do it. Smaller businesses and mid-sized businesses do not, because the workforce has embraced that. The workforce looks at working from home is a right, fundamental right, not a privilege anymore. So that shift in mentality is forcing employers, like I own a small business of about 50 employees. I've had to shift my mentality to embrace the fact that some hybrid working from home component will be part of our society for perpetuity. Now, does it need to be to the extent that it is currently? No. And I think your stats that you opened up this morning with that office attendance increased significantly in December is indicative of the fact that there is, we are embracing the hybrid model. I do think, though, for the most part, that uptake was done voluntarily by employees. I don't fully agree, though, with the percentage of people back in the office. It's certainly not 70% of pre-pandemic levels. I can tell you this, I go to the office every day. I ride the subway, I visit all local stores for lunch, I go to the local shoe shine store. There is a significant noticeable difference in lack of people in New York City. Now, it depends on the day. Monday and Friday, you're at 40% capacity. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, somehow the workforce is not more productive working from home. You get a nicer uptick those days.
Yeah. Well, you see even the traffic. You don't see as much traffic on certain days for sure. So that's even an indicator. This hybrid model of working some days in the office, working some days at home, is that, for so long we heard during the height of the pandemic this was going to be permanent. Do you think that's still the case, or would that eventually shift away towards, back to more in the office than at home?
I think it's permanent, to be perfectly honest with you. I think in an ideal world, I understand the logic of why waste 3 hours a day commuting for those who don't live in the city. There is logic to that, right? There's your better mindset. You're not, going through the frustration of a rigorous commute. But at the same token, businesses can't thrive and grow without in-person collaboration. I always say there's three components that are unequivocally lost in this remote world we live in: training, collaboration, and culture. You cannot do those virtually by any stretch of imagination. So how does the younger generation develop the skill sets to become good at their jobs? How does a company grow? How does a company retain talent, when there's no human element or contact to it? So in a perfect world, hybrid means you're home 2 days a week, you're in the office 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And should most companies come to that middle ground? I think that it solves the demand issue on commercial real estate. I think it helps preserve valuations, although I don't think any of us expect office to ever be valued at what it was pre-pandemic, but it could be better than this.
Yeah, real
And
quick.
it gives people the flexibility to, work remotely and have a better quality of life.
And real quickly, your thoughts on this conversation about transforming commercial properties into residential properties. Do you think that's going to change now or no?
I think that it's going to steadily increase, but the toughest part about that is that, we represent a number of lending institutions. Banks have to approve any change of use of a property they have a mortgage on. So in reality, the only times you're really going to see office to residential conversion is if it's owned free and clear without a mortgage. And, because economically speaking, it's so expensive with construction. If anybody's going to acquire a property, they have to acquire it at a significant discount. So that's the toughest part. And then, between us, if you look at buildings in Midtown Manhattan, these are old buildings that are, up to 100 years old. The floor plates aren't conducive for, habitable purposes.
Right.
But I do think you will see a slight uptick.
Pierre Debbas, it is great to talk to you this morning. Thank you so much for that important information. We appreciate it.
Thank you.